Can I just try another one though? When the time comes, I just say, this is Sparta. Fans never saw the chaos, suffering, and near madness that went on behind the camera, even as Gerard Butler yelled, "This is Sparta," with uncontrollable rage. Years later, Butler is finally speaking up and disclosing the harsh reality of what actually transpired during the production of 300. Wondering what you didn't see in the film? Let's explore the mysteries that Butler ultimately revealed. An unexpected success. Few anticipated that 300, which debuted in theaters in early March 2007, would go on to become one of the most talked about films of its era. Based on Frank Miller's graphic novel and directed by Zack Snyder, the movie does not rely on well-known actors or conventional historical narrative. Instead, it used dramatic imagery, slow-motion action, and powerful performers to bring a highly stylized version of the Battle of Thermopylae on the big screen. At the box office, 300 exceeded all expectations, even though the studios considered it a hazardous enterprise. 300 sold an incredible $70 million worth of tickets in its first weekend. Hollywood was taken aback by this enormous triumph, particularly in light of the movie's $60 million small budget. The momentum continued after that. 300 became one of the most successful and talked about movies of that year after earning over $456 million worldwide. Its financial success demonstrated that viewers were ready for something novel that challenged conventional wisdom in terms of both narrative and visual design. Both Wikipedia and Business Insider allude to this surprising victory as a watershed in the history of styled film. In addition to pop culture and memes, 300 sparked a significant fitness movement. The Spartan troops' chiseled bodies, commanded by King Leonidas, Gerard Butler, set a new benchmark for cinematic power. People from all around the world started to wonder how the actors were able to generate such dramatic physical effects. Soon after, the now famous 300 workout, a strenuous exercise regimen adopted by the actors to get ready for the shoot, was offered by publications and personal trainers. According to GQ, this exercise garnered popular interest and sparked a larger discussion about commitment, masculinity, and fitness. Long after its theatrical run, the movie's impact on fitness culture grew, and gyms began to offer training programs with Spartan themes. Not only was the movie 300 a success, but most people are unaware of the true behind-the-scenes activities. Beneath the roaring fights and stylized images was a torturous process that involved sacrifice, hardship, and unrelenting work. Fans couldn't see any of that until Gerard Butler finally spoke up. A story much more intense than what was depicted on screen emerged when he started to tell the truth about what the actors and crew actually went through. Let's move on to the unexpected information that fans were unaware of. The number of injuries, hospitalizations, and daily toll on set. Director Zack Snyder used cutting-edge digital backlot methods, vivid graphics, and almost shot-for-shot realism to bring Frank Miller's graphic novel to life. Through the use of sophisticated blue-screen technology and sequences with a lot of visual effects, Snyder created a vivid, violent, and mythical world. However, beneath that magnificent display lay a harsh truth. Gerard Butler claims that the 300 set was about more than just spectacular filmmaking. Every day was a routine of accidents, fatigue, and last-minute hospital stays. Butler acknowledged in an open interview that he could recall someone being admitted to the hospital every day. "Would you be fighting? Do you turn around? Someone down there is a guy. His eye was struck by a spear. Another time you turn back, you see a man who shattered his ankle after falling. It was crazy, really." In practice, the physical demands frequently resulted in mayhem, despite the combat choreography being crisp and well-planned on television. Even though they were muted for safety, real weapons were still dangerous. An actor's eye was in risk of being struck by a spear during one of the fight scenes. In another case, an untimely fall resulted in an ankle fracture for a cast member. These were not isolated cases. Actors were asked to execute high-impact stunts in take after take while donning bulky equipment and navigating cramped blue-screen enclosed areas. Error was not an option. Nevertheless, injuries occurred on a regular basis. Snyder's choice of how to film the action contributed to this. Many of the performers were asked to perform their own battle scenes, rather than depending on conventional stunt doubles. The outcome was more realistic and striking to look at, but it cost a lot. The actors exerted extreme physical strain. Cuts, muscle rips, and bruises were frequent. On set, no days were easy. Sweat, anguish, and unrelenting physical labor were the foundation of every slow-motion masterpiece that was shown on film. The actors had to use their creativity and perseverance because so much of the film was produced using computer effects. They wielded swords against green screen backgrounds, battled imaginary foes, and kept their characters through long, tiresome hours of motion. It was a rigorous experience that combined acting and physical training. Butler frequently spoke of feeling exhausted at the end of each day, both emotionally and physically. The actors continued to push in spite of the pain. Butler accepted the pain that accompanied his role as a Spartan monarch. The cost included hospital stays and scarring. In actuality, what the audience perceived as strong and heroic was the result of a demanding and frequently hazardous production atmosphere. If the wounds weren't enough, the harsh physical training that took place long before the cameras even started rolling was what really tested the actors' limits, penalizing the act of physical preparation. Makeup and costumes were not the first step in transforming 300 people into Spartan warriors. Gerard Butler and his co-stars went through one of the most rigorous physical preparations ever witnessed in Hollywood, deep within Jim Jones' training rooms, months before the movie was scheduled to be released. Butler put in 7 months of non-stop training to become the warrior king Leonidas. Up to 6 hours a day were spent in his lengthy and taxing sessions. CrossFit exercises, intense bodybuilding, strenuous sword combat drills, and constant circuit training were all part of this preparation. GerardButler.net and Gerard Butler Gals claimed that this was not your average Hollywood workout regimen. It was a total physical makeover intended to elevate common folks to legendary status. Mark Twight, a top fitness guru at Jim Jones, oversaw the training regimen. Twight used harsh techniques, pushing the actors well past their perceived physical limits. Twight combines classical conditioning, weightlifting, martial arts, and high-intensity CrossFit routines with a results-driven mindset and a no-nonsense approach. In order to get the actors ready for their battle scenes, the training even included combat simulations. The actors continued to work out on set between takes, frequently performing calisthenics or lifting weights to keep their toned appearance for the camera. Being strong wasn't the only goal here. It was about building strength. The Spartan warriors had to move with the strength and accuracy of actual troops while still seeming like they were carved out of stone. The goal was to develop real functional strength and endurance in addition to muscle. The actors did more than merely lift weights, as evidenced by publications like How Stuff Works and The Ultimate Primate. They ran through obstacle courses, flipped tires, swung kettlebells, and quickly completed a great number of push-ups and pull-ups. Drills from martial arts, which combined choreography with actual motions, were repeatedly performed. Preparing the actors for battle as well as film was the obvious objective. Gerard Butler has been candid about the harshness of the training. It almost ruined his body, he subsequently acknowledged. A torn rotator cuff, hip injury, and tendinitis were among the unpleasant problems brought on by the ongoing wear and tear. At one point, the strain was so great that Butler could hardly raise his arms. He persevered because he felt compelled to be a true Leonidas. He was emotionally as well as physically dedicated. Later, when the physical toll never stopped, Butler told Business Insider that the training was destroying his body, particularly when filming. Workouts continued after long days on set, sometimes to keep muscles defined or to get ready for the next big action sequence. The cycle of effort and fatigue never stopped. When filming began, the training continued. It only became more difficult. He claimed that the suffering enabled him to become as intense as a true Spartan leader. For Butler, playing Leonidas involved more than just hitting marks and learning lines. Every minute on film was earned by suffering and making sacrifices. The majority of the actors adhered to an official 8-week training program, which rose to fame on its own. It combined intense endurance exercises, high-rep weight circuits, and CrossFit routines to build a Spartan body in rapid time. The workout became so well known that gyms all around the world adopted it, and it was eventually posted online. Many fitness enthusiasts and fans tried the practice themselves and found it almost tough to finish. But more than the demanding schedule and physical toil, Gerard Butler's level of mental, emotional, and spiritual dedication to the position was what really made him stand out. Butler's final dedication. One media publication claimed that Butler's method of playing Leonidas was unorthodox and immersive. He claimed to try to channel Leonidas through a strange gateway while meditating on a regular basis. Butler felt that simply portraying a warrior on screen was insufficient. He wanted to know what it was like to be a guy who would lead 300 warriors to their inevitable demise. He included this meditation technique into his daily preparation, which enabled him to delve deeply into the character's psyche and give the part a feeling of realism and emotional impact. This dedication went much beyond internal tasks. Despite the potential hazards to his health, Butler also decided to do a lot of his own stunts. He thought the character would be more genuine if he performed the deed himself. Impressing the crowd wasn't the only goal. It has to do with respecting the role. He pushed himself into the fight with such vigor in one of the movie's pivotal battle scenes that he subsequently called it one of the most exhilarating experiences of his career. Every yell of defiance and every swing of his sword came from a place of complete physical and emotional commitment. There were risks associated with the high degree of involvement. Butler and the actors were accustomed to real-life dangers, even though the main movie was filmed in a controlled studio setting. People.com claims that throughout 300 and the subsequent projects, Butler was regularly in precarious positions that endangered his safety. He experienced hypothermia, for instance, while filming in Iceland. They had harrowing experiences during explosive vehicle stunts in another Pierce Brosnan film. These difficulties show how Butler has continuously put himself in perilous situations for the sake of authenticity and passion. His role in 300 marked just the start of a career characterized by bravery and commitment. There were also particular production difficulties on the set of 300 that called for flexibility and concentration. Screen Rant claims that hardly much of the gore and blood in the movie was useful. The majority of it was digitally added in post-production. Without the typical visual signals, the actors had to picture everything and respond appropriately. There were no extravagant makeup effects or exploding blood packs to direct them. Instead, while performing in front of blue screens, he and his co-stars had to visualize the chaos of war. This called for extreme focus and acting prowess, particularly in sequences that were emotionally or physically taxing. Butler's career was marked by his unwavering dedication to Leonidas, both physically and mentally, which also contributed to the legend of 300. He didn't only memorize lines or study a script. He entered a mental realm where he saw firsthand what it was like to command soldiers into combat and confront death head-on. Even in a movie full of computer effects and exaggerated violence, his willingness to pull off feats, put up with pain, and take risks resulted in a performance that seemed genuine and unvarnished. Let's take you behind the scenes of the actual battlefield, where state-of-the-art technology and a visionary aesthetic transformed a warehouse into a realm of myth and conflict, complete with tech-driven visuals and on-set conditions. Now that you know how far Butler went to become Leonidas. From the start, Zack Snyder's vision for 300 was evident. His goal was to make Frank Miller's graphic novel come to life in a way that has never been done in a comic book adaptation. Miller's panels were nearly shot-for-shot realized in Snyder's blueprint, creating a visual experience that closely mirrored the source material's tragic tone. About 90% of the movie's shots, according to Screen Rant, mainly relied on visual effects. The fabled world of Sparta was created by Snyder using a lot of blue screen technology, which gave the whole movie a painterly appearance reminiscent of a moving comic novel. Let's show you how that works. The entire movie was filmed in a Montreal studio, rather than constructing enormous sets or visiting historical sites. With blue screens and few real objects, the performers performed almost every scene in a sweltering, claustrophobic setting. The entire Spartan universe, including the God King's throne room and the Thermopylae cliffs, was digitally created in post-production.
Because of this, Snyder was able to fully manipulate the setting, lighting, and weather, elevating the images to legendary proportions. But there was a price for this. The set became physically uncomfortable due to the heat generated by the artificial lighting used to create the film's distinctive contrast and brilliant skin tones. The cast suffered from physical weariness and extremely high temperatures. King Leonidas's actor, Gerard Butler, took the brunt of it. He then disclosed that he fainted from exhaustion and dehydration while filming. Performing intensive fight choreography, wearing armor, and working long hours under bright lights took a toll on the actors. They were always challenged, both intellectually and physically. The dedication to style also resulted in artistic choices that prioritized tone above realism. The scenario with the Oracle is one such instance. Not all of her enigmatic and nearly absurd speech was pre-written. Many of her words, according to Screen Rant, were improvised to heighten the character's spooky and dreamy qualities. These decisions highlighted Snyder's objective even more: to construct a universe based on symbolism and legend rather than historical truth. The ideas of glory, sacrifice, and destiny were all thoughtfully reflected in every line, movement, and backdrop element. In addition to its visual aesthetic, 300 has an impact on contemporary fitness culture. The appearance of the movie was influenced by the performers' bodies as much as the visual effects. The cast endured the notorious 300 workout, a taxing routine consisting of 300 repetitions without break, in order to look like authentic Spartans. Pull-ups, deadlifts, push-ups, box jumps, floor wipers, and kettlebell clean and press drills were all part of this workout. Men's Health claims that just one cast member was able to finish the entire workout because it was so strenuous. For more than a year following the conclusion of filming,